Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. Kara lifted her wine and smiled at me like a dare. I am Evan, 34, and I felt my chest lock up. Her fork hovered over her plate like she owned the moment. Then she went for the one thing she knew I could not dodge. She's lucky your late wife got hit by a car. Kara let the words land and kept chewing. My brain did that glitchy skip you get in a crash. I stared at her mouth, waiting for the punchline. You know that feeling when your face goes numb first. I tried to laugh and it came out broken. Across the table, her sister's smile twitched and vanished. Someone's glass clinked and it sounded way too loud. I put my napkin down like it was fragile. My hand shook, so I pinned it with my palm. I said her name once and it sounded wrong. Kara blinked slow, like I was being dramatic. Repeat that. My voice did not sound like mine. Kara tipped her head and rolled her eyes. It was a joke. Her lips curled up again. The way she watched me felt like a test. I looked at the others, hoping someone would jump in. Her sister stared at the table and went still. Her mom cleared her throat and reached for her water. No one touched the words sitting between us. I pushed my chair back an inch, then stopped. Part of me wanted to bolt and never return. Another part wanted to fix it right there. Yeah, I know how that sounds now. Kara reached for my hand and I pulled away fast. Her nails clicked against the table as she missed. She laughed under her breath like I was fragile glass. That laugh hit harder than the sentence. I tried to breathe through my nose and failed. My mouth tasted like metal and I hated that. I kept thinking I must have misheard her. Then she smirked again and I knew I did not. Why would you say that here? I leaned forward. Kara shrugged and looked around like she had an audience. Everyone knows you're still stuck on her. She tapped her fork once. My throat tightened and my hands went cold. Her sister finally moved and shoved food around her plate. She did not look at me, not even once. Kara noticed that and grinned wider like she won. That grin made my stomach twist. I stood up, slow at first, then too fast. The chair scraped and everyone flinched at the sound. Kara did not flinch, she just watched. I realized she wanted me to snap. I forced my hands to stay open at my sides. I wanted to yell, but I did not trust myself. So I did the calm voice thing and it felt fake. Are you proud of that? Kara leaned back and crossed her arms. Relax, she flicked her gaze toward the others. Tell him to relax, she made it a group problem. Nobody spoke and the silence got heavy. My phone buzzed once in my pocket. I ignored it because I had bigger fires. Kara's phone buzzed too and she glanced down. Her thumb froze mid-scroll just for a beat. I caught the screen reflection in her glass by accident. A name flashed at the top and I did not know it. The message preview was short and nasty. Did you do it at dinner like we planned? Kara snapped her phone face down like it burned. She looked up fast and her smile was gone. Her knee bumped mine under the table, a sharp warning. And in that second, I knew this was never just a joke. I slammed my car door and locked it twice. My fingers kept slipping on the button like they forgot how. I stared at the windshield and forced my breathing to slow. Her line kept replaying like a siren that would not quit. I started the engine and pulled out too hard. At the first stoplight, I checked my hands, still shaking. I told myself I was overreacting and I hated that lie. Then I saw her face again in my head, calm and pleased. My phone lit up with a call from her. I let it ring until it stopped, then I muted everything. A second later, a text landed, just one word. Home. I drove past my exit on purpose. I needed space that did not include her voice. I circled blocks like that could scrub the night off me. When I finally turned back, my jaw was tight enough to ache. At my place, I went straight to the sink. I ran cold water over my wrists like that would reset me. I caught my reflection and did not recognize the stare. I realized I was scared of my own reaction. Another text popped up, this time longer. Don't do this, you know I was kidding. I almost replied with something sharp, then I stopped myself. I knew she wanted a fight she could win. I opened my laptop and typed the unknown contact name. Nothing useful came up, which somehow made it worse. I searched the exact wording I saw on her screen. The results were empty and that felt deliberate. I paced the living room and checked the door lock again. Yeah, I get how paranoid that sounds now. But my skin felt too tight, like danger was inside it. And Kara knew exactly where I lived. At 2 a.m. she knocked, soft and careful. I did not answer even when she called my name. Her shadow moved under the door, then stopped. Something slid across the floor toward me and I held my breaths. I picked it up with 2 fingers like it might bite. It was a sticky note with a heart and a smiley face. Please, that was all she wrote, like one word fixed everything. I stood there in the dark and felt my patience snap. I slept in short bursts and woke up angry each time. In the morning, I heard her key in the lock. She walked in humming like last night was a dream. That sound made my stomach turn. She came close and reached for my cheek. I stepped away and pointed at the floor by the door. Start with what you meant at dinner, my voice came out flat. Her eyes narrowed like I had insulted her. Kara lifted both hands in this fake surrender. You're still living with a ghost, she tapped her temple. You need someone who can handle it, her chin tilted up. I felt heat rise in my face and I hated that too. I moved to the kitchen and opened the drawer with the old folder. I did not bring it out to be dramatic, I needed facts. Kara followed and leaned on the counter, watching my hands. Her calm made her look guilty, even if that was unfair. I flipped to the page with the crash summary and dates. My thumb shook over one line I knew by memory. Kara glanced down and spoke before I could cover it. That was at Brookstone and 11th, right? My head jerked up so fast my neck hurt. I did not ask how she knew, not yet. I just stared and waited for her to fix it. She blinked once, then smiled like she caught herself. Lucky guess, she waved it off and reached for my phone. I pulled it back and tucked it in my pocket. Kara's smile slipped for half a second, then returned. That half second was the real answer. I grabbed my keys and walked toward the door. Kara blocked me with her hip and a sweet voice. Where are you going? Her fingers brushed my sleeve. I looked at her hand and saw the control in it. I moved around her and kept my voice low. If you know that corner, you know more than jokes. Kara stayed by the door and watched me like a guard. And I realized I had no idea who I was engaged to. I stabbed Maya's number and held the phone too tight. It rang once, then twice, and my pulse kept climbing. When she answered, I could hear her breathing change. Evan, what happened now? I walked out onto the porch and shut the door behind me. My thumb hovered over the screen like I might hang up. I need one straight answer, my throat felt raw. Did you ever meet Kara before I did? There was a pause that lasted too long to be normal. Maya did not fill it with comfort or small talk. She exhaled hard like she was choosing pain on purpose. Yes, she finally said, and my stomach sank. I gripped the railing and stared at my knuckles. That's not possible, the words came out thin. Maya made a small sound like she hated being right. It is possible and it's worse than you think. I tried to keep my voice steady and failed. Tell me where, my jaw clenched mid-sentence. Maya hesitated, then spoke like she was naming a crime scene. A support group 2 years ago she showed up. My knee bounced without permission and I hated that. You never told me, I heard the accusation in my own voice. Maya snapped back fast, then softened. Because you looked like you were barely standing, okay. I pinched the bridge of my nose and forced myself quiet. Was she there for someone? My words came out clipped. Maya gave a short laugh that had no humor. She watched more than she shared and she took notes. That hit me like a shove in the chest. What do you mean notes? I swallowed and tasted panic. Maya lowered her voice like someone might be listening. She wrote your wife's name, I saw it. I stood there frozen, then started pacing in tight circles. You're sure it was her? My hands kept opening and closing. Maya did not hesitate this time, not even a beat. I'm sure, same eyes, same little tilt of the head. I stopped walking and stared at my front steps. So she knew about the crash, my voice cracked on the last word. Maya made another unhappy sound like she expected this. She asked where it happened, specific, too specific. My throat tightened and I forced air into my lungs. Did she say why? I tried to sound calm and failed again. Maya went quiet, then her tone changed into warning. She asked about you like you were the prize. I leaned on the wall and felt stupid for being shocked. Why didn't you call me? The question came out harsher than I meant. Maya answered with a tired edge and a blunt truth. Because you were dating and you were finally smiling again. I went silent and shame crawled up my neck. Yeah, I know, that part makes me look weak. But I wanted normal so badly that I ignored alarms. Now Maya's silence felt like a door closing. I need proof, my voice dropped into something colder. Maya did not argue, she just shifted into action. I kept one thing, I heard fabric rustle near her phone. Meet me. At the coffee shop by the park now. I drove there too fast and checked my mirrors too often. My head kept turning like I expected Kara's car behind me. When I parked, I sat still and listened for footsteps. Nothing came, which somehow felt even worse. Maya was already inside, hunched over her phone. She slid into the booth across from me and did not hug. Her hands shook once, then steadied on the tabletop. Look, she whispered and angled her screen toward me. It was a picture she took, blurry but clear enough. A sign in the background, a folding chair circle, a woman's profile. Kara's profile with that same sharp chin and composed mouth. My pulse hammered as if I had been caught, not her. Maya tapped the image and zoomed in on a notepad. You could barely make out letters, but one word stood clean. My late wife's name written like a target. I sat back and felt the air leave my chest. I took my phone out and opened my old backups. My fingers moved fast, like they had been waiting for permission. I searched unknown numbers and missed calls, then found a flagged voicemail. The timestamp made my skin prickle because it was days before the crash. I hit play, then turned the volume down halfway. A woman's voice came through, low and urgent, almost shaking. She knows you, a breath, and my wife's name again. The message cut off mid-plea, and I stared at the screen waiting for part two. I pulled onto the shoulder and killed the engine mid-roll. My hands went stiff on the wheel, then let go. Kara's car sat ahead of me, angled like she rushed here. I slid down in my seat and waited for movement, any movement. I should have turned around right then, not gonna lie. My brain begged for the easy exit. But my feet were already out the door, stepping quiet. I told myself I was just checking, and I knew that was BS. I kept low and moved along the edge of the road. My phone was in my palm, screen dark, thumb ready. I did not want to record like some spy. Then I heard Kara's voice and my pride stopped mattering. She was behind the small stone marker near the corner. A man stood with her, broad shoulders, hands shoved deep. He kept looking up and down the street like a lookout. Kara pointed at the ground like she was drawing a map. I did it, and Kara snapped, voice tight. It landed, he shut down, her laugh sounded clipped. The man shook his head and spit to the side. That wasn't the deal, he muttered, and my skin crawled. Kara flicked her wrist like she was swatting a fly. You wanted a reaction, you got one, she leaned closer. The man lifted his palms like he wanted distance. Not that kind, he shot back, and his eyes darted my way. I tucked closer behind my open door and held still. My phone camera came up, shaky, then steadied. You ever feel your whole body turn into one big ear? I caught their faces on the screen and my chest went hot. Kara's voice dropped into that sweet tone she uses on me. It's fine, he won't connect it. Her fingers pinched her own chin. The man stepped back, then forward again like he could not decide. He's already digging, he warned, and Kara's jaw jumped. Kara took out a second phone, not the one I knew. She tapped fast and turned the screen toward him. He leaned in and nodded, then frowned hard. Delete that, he hissed, and Kara's hand paused mid-tap. She rolled her eyes, then pocketed it like a weapon. You're paranoid, she smiled like she was bored. The man's shoulders tensed and his hands balled up. Paranoid keeps you alive, he snapped, and my mouth went dry. Kara stepped closer and shoved a folded envelope into his chest. He caught it, looked inside, then flinched like it was too light. That's not the full amount, his voice rose, sharp and ugly. Kara's smile thinned and she stared him down. You'll get the rest when you stop whining. She poked his sternum with one finger, slow and deliberate. He grabbed her wrist, not gentle, and her eyes flashed. I almost moved then and froze when she did not pull away. She yanked free and smoothed her sleeve like nothing happened. The man rubbed his mouth and glanced toward the intersection sign. She wasn't supposed to end up like that, he muttered. Kara's face twitched and the air around them changed. Don't say that out loud, Kara's voice went flat. The man scoffed and kicked at the dirt. You told me it was a scare, he pointed at her accusing. Kara lifted her chin and whispered, it was until you panicked. My grip on my phone tightened until it hurt. I swallowed and felt my throat seize up. Part of me wanted to sprint at them and blow it up. Another part wanted to catch every word first, every slip. The man backed away a step and shook his head. You don't get to rewrite it, his eyes looked wet then hard. Kara's voice stayed calm, almost lazy. I get what I want, she said, and the sentence landed like a slap. I shifted my foot and a bit of gravel pop. Ed under my shoe. Both of them snapped their heads toward the sound. Kara's eyes locked on my hiding spot and her mouth went still. The man turned too, and I saw recognition hit him first. I stood up slowly and let them see me. My phone was still raised, screen glowing in my hand. Kara did not pretend this time, not even for a second. The man's face went tight, and he took one step toward me like a threat. I stepped back and hit my car door with my elbow. The man kept coming, eyes locked, shoulders squared. Kara stayed still, watching me like a judge. My thumb slid to record again, and he noticed. Turn that off, his hand came up, palm open. I did not answer because words felt useless. I lifted my other hand and pointed at the road. He took another step anyway, and my heart jumped. Kara moved between us with a quick smile. Babe, stop, her voice went syrupy, almost gentle. She put her hand on his chest like she owned him. He shook her off and her mask slipped for a beat. I shoved myself into the driver's seat and yanked the door shut. The lock clicked twice, then I clicked it again. The man's fist hit my window hard enough to sting my ears. Kara leaned down and mouthed something I could not read. I fumbled my car charger cord like it mattered. My hands would not cooperate and I felt stupid. I got the emergency call screen up and hit it. When the dispatcher answered, my voice sounded far away. There's a man threatening me, I kept my words tight. I gave the intersection and swallowed the rest. Kara tapped the glass with one nail, slow and patient. Her stare said I was the one in trouble. The man backed off as soon as he heard my voice. He stuffed the envelope deeper into his jacket. He looked left, then right, then took off down the sidewalk. Kara did not chase him, she watched him leave like a partner. She came to my window and pressed her palm flat. Open the door, her lips barely moved. I shook my head once and she let out a sharp breath. Then she switched tactics and her eyes went wet on command. You're scaring me, she tapped her chest like she was hurt. I stared at her hand and felt something in me harden. I held my phone up so she could see the recording icon. Her eyes flicked to it and the tears vanished fast. Sirens started faint and then got closer. Kara straightened and smoothed her hair like she was on stage. She stepped away from my car and lifted both hands. She looked ready to perform, and that terrified me more. Two officers rolled up and split the space between us. One stood by my window, one walked to Kara. I cracked my window just enough to speak. My mouth went dry as I tried to sound sane. I have video, I kept my phone raised, careful and steady. The officer nodded and told me to stay inside. Kara called out, he's having an episode, with a soft laugh. The officer's eyes narrowed at her tone and she noticed. They separated us without drama, which somehow felt worse. I stepped out with my hands visible like I was guilty. Kara tried to glide closer, then stopped when an officer blocked her. She smiled at him like she could charm a badge. I played the clip and kept my face blank. The audio caught her voice and the man's words clear enough. The officer listened twice, then looked at Kara again. Kara's smile held, but it started to shake. Who is that guy? The officer kept it calm. Kara shrugged and spread her fingers like she was helpless. Some creep, she tilted her head toward me. He brought him here to scare me, she insisted, and I almost laughed. I did laugh just once and it came out rough. The officer glanced at me and I shook my head. That's her, I nodded toward Kara's purse area. She has another phone, I added, and Kara went stiff. Kara snapped, no I don't, too quick. Her hands curled, then forced themselves open. The officer asked her to hand over her belongings. Kara stalled with a sweet tone and the officer did not buy it. When the second phone came out, Kara's face turned flat. She tried to grab it back, then caught herself. The officer scrolled and his expression changed fast. He turned the screen away from her like it was poison. Kara's voice rose sharp and thin. You can't go through that. She took a step forward. The officer held up one finger and she stopped cold. That pause told me she knew what was in there. I pulled up the voicemail Maya found and played it. The officer listened, then asked me who the woman was. I don't know, the truth tasted awful. Kara stared at the ground like it might open for her. The officer asked Kara again, do you know this voice? Kara's shoulders lifted like she was about to deny it. Then her mouth opened and nothing came out. She swallowed hard, and that was the first real crack. I didn't mean for it to happen, the words dropped out of her. She looked at me, not the officer, like I was the jury. I just wanted her gone, her eyes flew. Shed, angry at being caught. Hearing it out loud made my stomach flip. The officer told her to explain and she shook her head fast. It was supposed to be a scare, she laughed once broken. She wouldn't leave him alone, she pointed at me accusing. I flinched because part of me knew I once believed that story. Kara's hands started shaking, then she clenched them. I pushed him to do it, she stared straight ahead. Just a bump, just enough, her voice cracked on the last part. The officer's posture changed, and I knew this was now a crime scene. They turned her around and cuffed her without rushing. Kara twisted to look at me, eyes wide and furious. I reached into my pocket and felt the ring there. I set it on my car hood and it sat there like a dead weight.